Okay, so first week that we're going to be doing the vlog. I was hoping to do it last week, but it just didn't work out. So essentially, this week is our first real week of the Core Youth Ministry vlog. So essentially, it's going to give you updates, what we did last week, what we're doing this week, what we're going to be doing next week, and just a heads up as to some exciting things that are happening at Core Youth. So let's get to it.
He already was, already is, and he always will be. Everybody claiming royalty don't mean nothing to me. He is the king, he was the king, he's the king that always will be. He's the one that decrees with...
So last week was deeper. It went really well. We talked about patience. And, as we continue on our fruit of the Spirit talks, what we talked about was the story of Abraham and Sarah, and how Abraham and Sarah were promised a child. But unfortunately, sometimes when God calls us and he says, I have promised you this, or he has made a covenant with us, it is very easy for us to take matters into our own hands. And so Abraham and God had a covenant. And essentially, God said to Abraham, Abraham, I will give you children. You will be the father of nations. And he takes him outside of the tent and he makes him look up at the stars. And but in Abraham's mind, as he got older and older and Sarah got older and older, the idea of having children was possibly not even possible in his mind, physiologically, but also at the point where he's just like, doesn't make sense. And so God made this covenant with them. And so sometimes in our own lives, when God makes a promise and he says, do this, or wait, or trust me, I'm going to show up, we tend to give him a time frame and say, ooh, he's still not here yet. He hasn't shown up. Or at least he hasn't shown up the way we want him to show up. I think it's a good time to start taking things into my own hands. And so Sarah did that, and essentially she talked to Hagar, and she gave Hagar as a wife to Abraham. And essentially out of that marriage came Ishmael. And with Ishmael came tension. And just how the dynamics worked between Ishmael and Hagar and Sarah, it got messy. And as we go along, it's crazy what God can do and how God can heal a broken place. But it just kind of speaks into how we tend to want to create our own answers, or we want to create our own opportunities, when God has said, I'm going to create that opportunity for you. Because we struggle with patience, we struggle with the idea of just wait, trust. And we talked about, I shared how the opposite of patience and the enemy of patience, I believe it was a quote, the enemy of patience is doubt. When you have patience and you're able to sit and rest and say, God will show up, you are steadfast, you persevere. But when you're at a place where you aren't necessarily patient, you don't trust, the opposite of that is doubt. And so we saw a little bit of it, and then God, of course, shows up. The angels show up, and they promise a child, and Sarah laughs, and God says, and Sarah says, no, it's not going to happen. And God says, yeah, it is. And then they have a child, and that child is named Isaac. And so as we talk about patience, and we finish up our talks on patience, just remember, whatever God is telling you to be patient with, or telling you to trust him, remember to be patient and persevere, because that perseverance is huge. And along with all that cool stuff that we were learning and talking about, there's a lot of cool stuff happening both in the gym and throughout the church. And that stuff looked like this.
My passivity is actively taking a toll. Put my feet up, just told the story up. Now we lift our voice and praise. We've been sent on a mission from God. Do what you want, cause we'll never stop.
back because we're going to bring it back. What's going on this week? This week we got the mall hunt. So the mall hunt is going to happen at West Edmonton Mall. We are meeting at the church and hoping to be leaving the church with the bus at about 7:10. So show up at about 6:50, handing your money. Make sure you get the offsite form signed up. I'll show you the link and where to find that later. And on top of that, the cost is $10. $10 covers the transportation as well as the cost of the prize, which is still to be determined, but it should be good because I want people to take the hunt seriously as you can take a mall hunt. So, and just to finish off, because we got to finish somewhere, sledding, skating next week, hopefully, assuming that the weather is a little bit colder and we get a little bit of snow, because that's kind of important. We'll be meeting at Jackie Parker Park, 7 to 9 p.m. We'll have off-site forms for that as well, assuming that we do it. Cool. And last but not least, how can you stay up to date on information? Well, you can follow us on our website right there. You can follow us, or you can join our Facebook group right there. We'd love for you to follow us on Instagram right there, GPC Core Youth, as well as on Twitter. We are at Core Youth GPC. So, and if you have any questions and you want to contact me directly, Craig Robertson, Craig at gracepointchurch.ca. Beautiful. Sword in my hand, armored up, and my breath is